Right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This lovely, warm May online rum tasting event. So glad to have you all. Lovely to see some great familiar faces and also some new faces. Lovely to see our reach extending out. Hopefully, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, you all have your packs that have come in from the post. Everyone's got their rums. Housekeeping, everyone's got their water. Everyone's got maybe some odd snacks or something, had something to eat. And everyone can hear me properly. Maybe with some thumbs up or something. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. So yeah, thank you for joining us. We're so glad to put together our second on event online for the year. We have four very, very cool brands from across the world that are joining us today. And without further ado, I am going to pass you straight across to the man that is up at a silly hour from Southern Australia, Melbourne, joining us where I believe it is 10 to 4 in the morning. So please, a lovely warm welcome to James from Jimmy Rum, who I'm going to put on spotlight for you, George. Here we go.
Well, good morning or good evening to all you guys. How are we all? Hope we're all doing well.
Good, thank you. Good.
Absolute pleasure to be here, even though, yes, it is 4 a.m. in the morning, very close to anyway. But yeah, no, looking forward to this event and running you through a couple of our spirits. But yeah, so we're in Victoria, so just in the southern part of Australia. I was quite laughing at the weather, everyone assuming that it's beautiful. I'm assuming some of you have been to Melbourne. It's if you don't like Melbourne's weather, you just wait 5 minutes. Constantly changing. But we're actually having a really late summer. Actually, it's still quite mild over here. So we're expecting it. It's just turned in the last couple of weeks, so we're starting to get down into the 12, 13 degree days now. But yeah, it's all pretty well. So I'm assuming just a bit of chat about what I'm up to, Indy.
So yeah, absolutely. It'd be really great to kind of hear a little bit about you, your background, a little bit about Jimmy Rum, and then kind of the information that you'd love to give the guests. And then when you're ready, go into the tasting of the two as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I hope we've got a good couple of hours. But yeah, so well, my background is actually not a lot in distilling or even hospitality. So my background, I was a merchant marine engineer. I worked in shipping for 20 odd years. And one of my last jobs was actually working as a dry docking superintendent in Singapore. And I happened to be sitting at a Manhattan bar in Singapore, which is really quite a well-renowned bar, very top-end cocktail bar. And I said to the bartender, "Is there such a thing as a dry rum? I'm so over these crazy sweet rums that I'm going to move to whiskey, and I don't like whiskey." So he just looked at me and laughed because all the rums I'd ever tried back in Australia was Bundy, or Bacardi or a spiced. I did know Mount Gay, which was a big influence on my rum drinking. And he laughed and he handed me a bottle of RL Seals and said, "Here you go, try this." And it pretty much was the light bulb moment. It was just like, wow, this is what rum can actually taste like. There needs to be more of this in Australia. So that sort of sowed the seed. Month or so later, my company lost its contract, so we had 360 people being made redundant. And everyone's asking, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And I got so over the question after a couple of weeks that I just started to make a joke. I said, I'm over this. I've done it for 20 years. I'm going to go and make rum. Now, everyone usually laughed hysterically and rolled all over the floor and said, don't do it, Jimmy. You'll just drink all the profit. So that's why I bought a big $200,000 a year still. So wish me luck. But yeah, so I was actually then sitting in Karratha. If any of you have seen a movie called Red Dog, you'll know how out in the middle of nowhere Karratha is. It's red dirt. If you don't like that, there's some more red dirt followed by quite a bit more red dirt. And it's about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm sitting in a nice one-star hotel just trying to detune from a really long day. And I said, well, hang on a minute. I'm joking about this, but I'm sitting here in Karratha, middle of nowhere in Australia, drinking a craft beer. Well, why can I be here drinking a craft beer and yet in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, I can't be drinking a craft spirit, a craft rum, a gorgeous rum? Why is this not possible? Is it just a thing in Australia? So out comes Google at 2 a.m. Now I can tell you Google at 2 a.m. is never a good thing. So I actually did research and found out the craft spirit industry in Australia is now just on 30 years old. So it's a very new industry in Australia. The States is pretty similar. I think they were a couple of years after us when they allowed, depending on which state you're in. But so we've had, when I started this about 9 years ago, there was only around 46 distilleries in all of Australia, of which only eight or nine were rum. So now there is over 700 distilleries, and about 50 odd of us are rum, which is really interesting when you sort of the Haitian rum and bits and pieces. I think they've now got the highest per capita rum distillery in the world for the size of the state. When you consider they're one-eighth the size of Victoria, so not much bigger than CBD Melbourne, and yet there's 500 plus distilleries there. It's we've still got a long way to go to get our rum distilleries up to spec. So, but yeah, so that started a bit of a process of research. I don't like doing things by halves. So I decided Australia needed to know better rum. So I put myself through the pain and suffering of doing over 70 distilleries in 3 months. So jumped on a plane, did northern, sort of New York north all the way up into Boston and across to Canada and back down about five islands in the Caribbean. Came over and did a bit of time in the UK, and then finished up with a bit of time in the Greek islands. There wasn't much distilleries there, but it was nice. And then came home. So, but I actually came load absolutely in love with the whole craft spirit industry. So it was just right. That's what I want to do. Let's go. So we did. Did a lot more research. Took me about 18 months to sort of start putting it all together, find a site, purchase the big still, and then she took about another 12 months to get installed and up and running. So she's been running for about 6 years now. Her name is Matilda. She's an Italian hybrid still, so we've got the advantage. You've got two of the lighter rums we produce at the moment, but she can actually do a big pot still. So we do what we call our dirty rum, which is a backset Jamaican style double pot still rum, but all the way through to ultra light, which is almost the AKA Bacardi vodka light styles with using a 12 plate column. So we've got this massive versatility, which is one of our main things we're here for, is to show the diversity of rum. The second thing we're here for is the premiumization of rum to show people how amazing rum can be. Particularly in Australia, we've got a completely uphill battle. 99% of the country believe, well, rum is just Bundy. So it's a bit like trying to say every whiskey in the world's Johnny Walker Red Label. It doesn't really work. So we've got a bit of a battle, and James, you'll meet at the end towards the end there. He'll spruik the same thing. Both of us work really closely together to try and change the whole perception of rum in Australia. And now we're both now working to try and teach the rest of the world how good Australian rum can be. So that's pretty much our story of where we are. So producing for 6 years, we have a big bar. We're Victoria's only dedicated rum distillery. We're the only one that just sits here and makes rum. That's it. We don't do any gins or whiskies or anything else. I figure you only do what you're passionate about, and that would be our rum.
We can follow suit with that. We know exactly what that's like, don't we, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
So should we get
exactly.
into tasting some of these fantastic products you've made?
Yeah, usually I leave it until people are screaming at me. Say, come on, we've got to try this stuff. But I know I'm on a timeline, so I better move along. So, did you have a particular order you wanted me to do it in? I can give you a bit of a description on them first, and then either do the navy or the oaked.
Well, has everyone got two? You should have two different rums from the guys at Jimmy's. Everyone's got those two rums in their hand. Yeah, I think one was a Navy 55, right?
57.8.
57.8. So yeah, let's start with the H and then switch over. Well, you tell
Yeah.
me, it's your rum, whichever you want to taste.
No, it's always. I think you guys are pretty right. I usually start with the white, but the navy's can be a little bit of a tough one to start on. But it definitely gets the palate up to speed. But no, let's start with the oaked up first. So our
Also,
process is.
sorry, just very quickly, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute certain stages and ask as well. It's great to have some interaction rather than put it in the chat. But if you do want to put it in the chat, you can do that too. It'd be great to hear you kind of unmute as well. And sorry, back to you.
Yeah, no, please sing out. I always love the more questions, the better. It saves me just talking to myself, which gets kind of boring for me anyway. All right, so the Navy there, I'll just explain the Navy a little bit because it's part of the process. So the Navy is sort of the big brother of what we call our silver, which is a silver rum. So it's an unaged, what we call a light to medium depth of rum. The Navy and the silver are exactly the same. The fermentation is the same. The distilling is all the same. It actually comes off our still. It's a single pass distillation. It comes off at about 92.8% alcohol. So I can tell you it tastes amazing up there, but it does actually hurt like hell. I wouldn't drink that. But the Navy is we just add a little bit less water. We do take our time. We spend about a month cutting it back from the 92 to the 40 or the 57.8. We believe in taking our time with everything. And for us, it's those little things. Our ferment is sort of 5 to 6 days as opposed to commercial 36 hours. So it's all these long little processes you take along the way that just assist us to make a much better rum. So what we do is the oat is what I call an American style of rum because it generally uses a virgin oak barrel. So an American white oak barrel. Now they're usually small format. This one was a 60 litre. It was in barrel for about 18 months. Now, when I say virgin, it means it's just virgin to our distillery. So this barrel was a fourth fill, actually. But probably it'll get one more fill and then it'll be put out to pasture to do 4 or 5 years with as a rum barrel or something similar to that. But yeah, so this is what are we, 45.9 on this one. But it is the silver just been aged in a small format. So really we're not maturing it. Even at 18 months, you're not doing a lot of softening or maturing. You're actually just imparting some flavor. So when it's a brand new barrel, it will only take 3 or 4 months to do a similar thing. Obviously, as the barrels get used more and more, they take a little bit longer to go. So rightio. So I'm assuming most of you know how to do a little sip. I always explain this regardless of who I'm talking to because it's amazing how many really experienced whiskey people and rum people I've spoken to don't sort of know how to actually nose and find some of the profile. So one of the things we do is tip of the nose on the bottom of the glass, have a gentle smell there, and then tip of the nose right up the top of the glass and have another smell there. And you'll give it what you call your bottom notes and your top notes. So a lot of more of the heavier notes are down the bottom, the molasses and the butterscotch. Butterscotch is our core flavour. It pretty much runs through everything we do. Then, yeah. So have a little sip. I like to do it over a couple of sips. If you have brought some water, oat is our best thing for really, really showing people the interaction with water and what it will do. And it's just have a little sip, just do it 2 solitary drops of water and see what it does to the profile. Now, you might like it less, you might like it more. It really just depends on your palate. But it's great fun to do on a tasting bench, and people laugh at you. 2 drops are not going to do anything, and see the huge interaction that 2 drops will do. What we find with our products, and probably most products, is if you add a couple of drops of water, you're going to bring more barrel notes forward. You're going to get a lot more of the vanilla, the char, the oak, and the spirit will sort of fall back. Whereas if you do the reverse and put it over a big lump of ice or some whiskey rocks, you're actually going to bring the spirit forward. That's how I like to drink it, is I prefer the spirit forward rather than the oak forward. But it just depends on your palate and what you like. So for us, it's a neat sipping rum. We don't make anything you can't enjoy neat, but it does blend nicely. We do things like a smoky chili Negroni with this one. So even though Negroni is supposed to be gin, but really bringing that oak flavor. It's got the strength. I like to say this spirit has an American personality. It likes to stand up. It likes to be in your face. It likes to be heard from a mile away. So it's definitely there. It's not a quiet spirit in any way. Still smooth and rounded and easy to sip on, but it's definitely got some forward character.
That's
How'd
really
you go?
delicious. Really kind of full-bodied, lots of flavor, lots of black pepper within that. But yeah, butterscotch all the way through.
Hmm.
What does everyone else think? Let's bring everyone else in.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Go for it now.
So just wondering, I've tried a few Australian rums before, not many, but what does aging look like in Australia, given the obviously the temperature and humidity and that kind of thing?
Oh, we're well, particularly down where I am. If you sort of think Bricks, I think I saw him. John James is lurking around, but they will be they're a little bit more warmer, a little bit more humid, so they age quite a bit differently to where we are. We're renowned in the whiskey and the rum world in sort of Melbourne, South Australia, and Tassie for variable temperatures. So Melbourne, particularly Melbourne, because we've got 42 degrees one day in summer, and then the next day or the next 5 minutes it's 16 degrees. So the barrels really work over time. If you sort of imagine in the heat, the oak, the grain expands and sucks the spirit deep into the timber, whereas when it gets cold, it all contracts and pushes it back. So it's this constant pumping effect through the char and the oak and the sugars that are in the timber that really react. The other advantage we have down our way is because it's dry, we don't lose so much alcohol. So my barrels actually we have an angel share of around 7.5% of liquid per year from our big barrels, but we actually only lose 5.5% of the alcohol. So we lose more water than alcohol. So when in our barrel, it's normally filled at 62%. We actually, when we pull it out 2, 3, 4 years later for our rums and stuff like that, it's actually probably sitting at about 63, 63.2. So that sort of help.
And that's a really good point. Thank you for that, Nat. I think there's also a further point that this is just two of the products from the guys at Jimmy. There's a whole further range back here. Some of the higher ABV stuff is phenomenal as well. So, this is really good, interesting Australian rum, which is non-sugared, non-flavored, that very kind of classic real rum way. So
Definitely.
commend to do that, because that's not a cheap thing to sell, nor a volume driver. It's a real struggle. So really good work. Well done for spreading this.
Yeah, look, we're definitely, I'm not going to say we're anti-sugar, but we definitely comply to the honest rum policy, where only our flavored stuff has any sugaring in it. Or if we do ever put sugar or caramel in any product, we always write it on the label. It's just the way
That's
it
it.
works. This is our base oaked as such. We do actually have two other levels. We have a standard oaked plus, which is actually the cask strength version. When we get one particular barrel that just sings, we just say, no, we'll put it in a barrel on its own as a distillate special. And we also have what we call our oaked plus plus, which, well, really inventive on the name there, James. So that was we know a lot of rum people love the high ABV. So I just did an experiment and we filled two barrels at 75%. Those ones actually came out of the barrel about 2 years later at 74.8. So I was a
Wow.
little nervous about it because I just, "Oh, that's pretty high up there." But oh God, when you actually get your mouth onto it, it is amazing. So it's warm, there's no problem, but it's definitely got massive complexity of flavors. So you're adding sort of one of the ways I explain it to people is when you go into those higher ABVs. So this is the spirit we're drinking is 45, and then we're jumping to 75. So you're adding more or less another 40, 50% alcohol to it, which means 40 to 50% more flavor. So stepping up that alcohol, so long as it's balanced and it works and it's rounded, the flavor impact is insane. It's a great fun spirit to play with. So I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of cost strength anything, as everyone knows. So next time you're coming over on your journeys, feel free to bring some of that over for the club. I know everyone's mouth's watering already. Matt's nodding away. I see a wry smile on Stuart's face.
Yes.
Should we dip into the next one?
Yeah, for sure. All right. So Navy. So our Navy definition is a little different to the UK Navy definition of rum. There we go. We got a Navy bottle. So I don't know whether you remember, Jazz, you actually tried this about 5 or 6 years ago. So I sent some over with your wife there, and yeah, I loved the comment that came back, and you wouldn't publish it, but I'm not going to say it now because you wouldn't publish it back then. I don't think you're going to publish it now, but that is one of my top 10 quotes of anything. This Navy spirit, it for the people that really know spirit, this is mind-blowing for them. So head distiller of Fiji rum, his eyes just glazed over. 40 years making rum in the Pacific, and his eyes just glazed over when sipping this one. I did a Japan export trip, and I had a guy at a networking event that just kept coming back and drinking more, and he was a fairly petite older Asian man, and he just did not stop coming back. And I ended up talking to his translator, and I found out he was the head of marketing for Kirin Beer.
Wow.
And he was just, I still to this day have not seen anyone so obsessed with this spirit. So, but anyway, so Navy, I'm assuming most of you guys understand what Navy strength is as such, but I'll just briefly run through it again.
Please.
So I love the story because to me it harps back to the necessity is the mother of all invention. So what it is back in the 1700s or so, when you were going to Mount Gay in the 1750s to buy 200 barrels of rum, how did you test the alcohol strength? You couldn't. So what they found out was if you run a line of gunpowder down the table, pour the rum over the top of the gunpowder, if there's too much water in the rum, the gunpowder becomes waterlogged and it won't light. And the point where an alcohol-soaked rum will light is 57.13%. So anything above that, the rum is considered to have been proven, or you have proof that it is okay to go and buy that barrel. Where the difference comes in between the UK definition at 54.4, as far as I understand, is that the Royal Navy went out and said, well, no, that's in a lab. We need to go and test it in real life. So they went out and did 100 tests around the world and got an average of 54.4. So that's why there's a slight difference between the two. I just love it. This Navy, even though Rum, which is the spirit I was showing you before, even though that's our passion, our baby, that's our beautiful single sipper, sessionable sipper, I actually drink far more of this Navy. I love it. It works amazing in a Hemingway daiquiri if anyone's feeling experimental. We put it in a premix can with pear, cinnamon, and cucumber. If you're struggling to start the morning, I probably should be having this with a double espresso and a shot of Navy in it. So it's one of our only spirits that will literally stand up to a double espresso. And being that we have an Italian still, we call it a correcto, typical Italian style. You correct the morning, you correct the coffee, whatever you wish to call it, but that's the deal. But no, I just love this spirit. It really is my passion. I love any distillery I go to. I love tasting their new make. Some people call me a heathen for it, but I get to taste your distilling, your ferment and your distilling before you do anything else to it. It's an amazing way to experience what that distillery is trying to achieve. So for trying it, what I generally try and do here with this one is I try and get you to do it in 3 sips. First sip, I don't want you to worry about taste. I just want you to play with the profile, the texture. I work nearly as hard to get that texture to where I want it as I do to get the taste. If you sort of pick the glass up and roll it around, you can see the legs. In the wine industry, they call it legs. The Mauritians like to call it the tears. What do they call it? The tears? Well, you've stuck it to the side of the glass. You can't get it back. So, but for me, it's yeah, I like to call it the voluptuousness, the roundness, the texture of the spirit. Now, thin or thick doesn't matter. That's up to your palate. But I like to heighten all the senses when we make a spirit. So it's very rounded and quite voluminous with how it behaves. Your second and third sip will start to move into different flavors. So away you go. Another cool little nosing trick, which I explain with this one, is if you actually smell it once gently, then blow in the glass gently, and then smell it again. Each time you blow in the glass, you'll bring different profiles forward. You blow it off, and you find different elements through it. So you can do it 3 or 4 times.
This is absolutely phenomenal. I remember actually tasting this last time round. On the nose, it's so cane, but on the palate, it's creamy. It's marshmallow, butterscotch. This is a very, very well made product, my friend. Congratulations! You should be very proud of this. Let's bring in some of the other guys. Guys, give us some feedback. What do you guys think? And then we'll jump in at once.
Hi guys.
You want to have a preference for the two?
Where do we get it in England? Or where do we get it in the UK? Where can we buy it? It's lovely.
I heard there's this company called Skylark Spirits that are interested in it. Not
we're
loading
having
him up at all.
discussions. We're speaking to one about it. Tell me, what would you pay for this bottle?
I haven't done the UK conversion
No,
as
no, I was
such,
talking
but
to
in Australia,
customer.
for
Sorry,
the
buddy.
customer in Australia, they're paying $105 for that. So, but remember, we've got the third highest excise tax in the world.
Yeah, I pay about 105 Australian for this, I reckon.
It works for you, Chris?
Yeah, I have no idea what the exchange rate is, so yeah, why not? It's
Bloody
beautiful.
amazing right now, to be honest, because I just come back from Europe and it hurt like hell. So, yeah.
It's a lovely rum. I just echo what Indy and Jazz have said. It's a beautiful drink. That really, really nice. I will definitely get some when the guys tell me where to get it from.
Yes.
Stay
So
close.
we're
There's always
working.
conversation.
Yeah, we're talking with Jazz and bits and pieces about bringing it into the UK there, but I've got a few irons in the fire and a few options. But at the moment, no. You can buy it online and you freight it, but you would not want to pay the freight.
Would you pay £55 for this bottle in the UK?
Yeah.
My
Yep.
wife says yes. I'd say maybe.
No,
But no, I would.
Yeah,
I would.
I'd say 50
I would.
to 55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like a very premium product to me.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's no question on the quality.
It's got a fantastic aftertaste as well. It's making my mouth tingle, and I don't quite know how to explain it, but it's just sort of the flavors are coming out, as you said, that the more you sip on it, and then it's just sort of the only way. It's like the space dust you used to get as a kid. It's just sort of, to me, it's just sort of just bouncing around on the tongue on the third one. And that's probably a really bad analogy, but that's the only thing I can think of on the top of my head.
I like to say it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even now,
one of
it's
those
just
that
evolving.
You smell is different. The smell is very different to the taste. You smell it and you think, I'm not sure, and then you taste it, and it's just such an amazing sort of complex thing. The taste is so different to the smell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I say, it felt like cane juice. I thought I was going to get hit with an agricole on the nose.
Yeah.
And when I got it, it was pure molasse, just creaminess.
And a lot of that is it's just the pure light esters, because you haven't had it hasn't been aged, it hasn't been sugared, it hasn't been sweetened, so you're left with those really ultra light profiles. And it's one of the reasons why we run low sugar cocktails, low sugar premixes, because I want those flavors to be retained. The moment you dose that in with sugar, you quieten it right down. That's why our signature cocktails are Hemingway daiquiri with next to no sugar in it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a Hemingway, one of the most delicious but forgotten cocktails in the country. All right, let's do a quick vote. Okay, let's see who preferred rum number 1, which was Jimmy's Rum Small Batch Oaked. Let's see for hands. Anyone voting for that one? Indy, can you do the count up?
Indy, you're on.
1, 7, 4, 3.
Perfect.
That's not. Yeah.
And then who's voting for the Jimmy's Rum Small Batch Navy? 57.8 beauty. That's got my vote.
Can't see me, but I'm doing number 2.
I love both of them, but I'm going to go with 2 as the favourite out of the 2.
See, that's pretty even. That's pretty even.
So that's good. Product's done well. Okay, good. Any final thoughts? Any feedback from anyone before we move on?
Just
Any
get the deal
questions?
done, Jazz. I think it's what the message is. Get the deal done. Get it over here.
We've got Sean asking in the chat, is it available in the US?
No, not yet. It will be, but the US is as you know, it's an interesting market. For us, it's a little way down because it's just such a challenge down the food market. We are looking at Canada at the moment, but no, we haven't got anything in the US just yet.
Cool. Okay, so let's do this. Can you please give everyone on the call some of your social media links so we can follow you and continue on this journey and see how you grow over the coming years?
Yeah, for sure. So the website is simple. It's just jimmyrum.com.au. The social media links for Instagram, it's Jimmy Rum Distillery. Don't pick Jimmy Rum Bar in Port Douglas. It's not the same thing. But Jimmy Rum Distillery is where we are. In Facebook or Instagram is the only two socials we actively play on at the moment.
That's cool.
So if you're feeling jealous, we're doing $12 Australian daiquiris in our bar at the moment, every hour, every day.
That sounds like a fun time. If anyone goes over to the US, we have Rum Family out there to go and see distilleries and have $12 drinks. So, so thank you so much for James for coming on and showcasing your fantastic rum. We wish you the best. We're going to move on to our next rum, but please do hang around. There's, at the end, everyone's gonna be still here for further questions. But big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
So we have also appreciate the fact that it's 4:20 in the morning for you. So if you do need to go to sleep, please go to sleep. We appreciate it.
There's not much point in me going back to bed because I got to get up at 5:20 anyway to go and do. We've got an event on this morning that's an early start, so it's been a good one for me. I like it.
You deserve McDonald's breakfast, bruv. You deserve the old McMuffin.
Oh, now you're just making me hungry, Jazz. Stop it. Stop it.
Well, have a good day, and I'll catch you in a little while.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Hope you enjoyed.
That was good. I enjoyed that. The rum was pretty special. Apologies, I've relocated to be a place a little closer to the router just over there. But I'm with you now and you can hear me, so that's the main thing. All right, Indy, shall we move on with our next guest?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I think this is Sachin's go. Sachin, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you indeed.
Excellent.
Indy, can you do the spotlight? There you go. Oh, look at you with your posh headphones and your branded jacket. Very nice.
Got to do it properly, haven't we? Got to do it properly. Hi, everybody. My name's Sachin. I'm the founder of Hussey Spice Rum. Hussey Spice Rum is a new brand we launched in November last year. We have 3 SKUs. Today we're showcasing what's my favorite, which is the signature rum. This is a spice rum, so we're not going to pretend to be rum masters. What we've taken a good blend of Jamaican and Dominican Republic rum and blended it and infused it in Horsham. So I'm based in Surrey, so in Horsham's 10 minutes out for me. And what we decided to do, when we decided on the product, I've always been a fan of rum, and that's really accelerated my passion in the last sort of 2 or 3 years. I've been to Bacardi distilleries, Captain Morgan distilleries, just because I found amazing distilleries in Iceland and Cyprus. So I've really enjoyed the experience, and it always just really cemented the idea that rum is just so versatile. And I do feel that gets a bad rap in some cases. People do have a perception of rum. It's harsh, it's rough, it's cough syrup, all this stuff, and I just don't like them. But what we decided to do, the rums that we have started in my kitchen. Basically, I used to make infusions. I used to use Rain Nephews and Kingston 65 in the kitchen for myself because I just didn't like. No offense to anyone, I didn't like Captain Morgan or anything in the bar. So I thought I can do something better. And I really enjoyed the process because we had initially, I think, 6 or 7 options that we messed around with. Initially, like I said, for my personal consumption, I just enjoyed the process and found it exciting, and it's a nice change from what I was doing for my day job. And then basically sharing those sort of drinks with friends and family and neighbours and people that know people, and we got really a lot of positive feedback on 2 or 3 of them, and we thought, let's give it a go. So probably summer last year, we sort of spent time looking around for distilleries, trying to find the perfect base rum, which we found in Horsham. And then using the flavors that I had produced, I took my recipe to the distillery, said, this is what I made before. Can you replicate it? What can you do for me? And we got a very good version of what it is. I think it's as true to it as it can be in commercial settings. So what we're going to do from the tasting point of view is a spice rum. It's very straightforward. The rum itself, it's a golden rum. So we've taken some dark rum. The rum itself is a blend.
The label and the bottle of it.
I was pouring. Sorry. This is blur. Let me unblur 1 second. 1 second. There you go. So this is just do strange stuff in the background. So this is our rum. So it's Husky Spice rum signature. We're trying to keep it. We wanted to create a product that was premium in essence and premium in taste. So the rum, as we said, is a golden rum. It's a blend of the Dominican Republic and Jamaica. You see the golden color, really light, really fruity. When we're looking at the actual flavors, if you would take those Smith even, you should get a punch of citrus, and then that's the main thing. So we're taking citrus zest, infuse that into the rum, taking some Indian dessert spices, so cardamom and cinnamon, and we sweetened it with honey because it is a spice rum. We're not trying to be a Jimmy rum. We're not that pure in sense, but we want to make a rum that's approachable and really has a lot of flavour. And the APV is 41.7% because that really makes the spices really come out. So basically, it's very simple. This is probably a two sipper. The first sip, you should get quite a bit of punch. You should really get the orange and the cinnamon coming through straight away. So you should feel the cinnamon in the back of your throat, the orange on the tip of your tongue. The actual feel of it is infused. It's the texture, because we use natural real honey infusing it. It's quite a nice heavy texture. And then when you go for the next drop, because your tongue's been coated by the honey already, get a bit more of the darker spice, the cardamom, and you lose a bit of that punch. Becomes smooth on the second sip just because the honey's glazed your tongue and throat. So this is what we've done. So we got two. This is like my favorite. We also have two other. We have a passion fruit and elderflower version, and a more traditional orange and honey. All this is what we're trying to do is not. We're creating a product that allows us to build experiences around it. So the product itself, this one, for example, works great by itself with ice and lime. Even better in a daiquiri. So a passion fruit daiquiri, put a bit of passion fruit liqueur into it, and spritz the spread. The peach is amazing. Even in the back of a rum punch, two juices and a rum punch, you still feel the depth. I feel what we're trying to position it as is that it's a drink that works for different people. It's not particularly a rum lovers. It's a drink that allows us to ease you into rums as such. You get the aftertaste of rum, you get the kick of rum, but you also its palate is a lot softer, a lot sweeter.
Sachin, I completely agree with you. This is a very approachable, fruit-forward, spice-honeyed rum. Remind me, what's the ABV of this? Because it feels a little bigger than most.
Yeah, so we've taken it at 41.7. So that's through a bit of experimentation to try and get the spices to pop. So that really brings out the cinnamon. So 41.7 is the APV. It will also hold its own in a good cocktail. As I said, the daiquiris and the rum punch, you can taste it because of the actual extra kick. And even like mixes, ginger beer, ginger ale, even Coke, those sort of mixes really work well as well because you also get just complements those flavors.
Got you. So tell me, what does Hathi mean and what's the connection to the brand?
So Hathi actually is Hindi for elephant. Elephants obviously in our culture is very much about wisdom and good fortune. So if you wanted a name that would just invoke a bit of good luck, also keep us true to the roots. So like we've taken the Jamaican rum, blended it with the Indian spices, but also added some European flavors like the orange. So try and keep it a massive fusion across across 3 continents as such, just to bring it a bit more depth and a bit more interest into the drink.
That's fantastic. So what's your future? What are you looking to do with this brand over the coming years?
I think we're just looking to enjoy it. So this is a part-time thing. This is not our full-time job. We both work in finance and boring risk jobs. So this is very much a passion project, something that we go in and we enjoy. So this takes up our weekends, our bank holidays this week, and we've got 3 events that we're doing because we want to do it. I'm also trying to create events around chocolate and pairings, supper clubs, to make sure that I can enjoy the process, get to meet new people, get input, get reflections of what people think of the product. I think from us, it's just something that we just want to keep as a passion. There's always scope in 3 or 4 years once we're looking to retire. Let's see if we can do things big of it. But at this point, we're doing a lot of direct to customer, so guns, fairs, markets. We are starting to approach bars, and there's interest, but I think it's a tough market for bars. As everyone knows, it's just really hard to get into them. So we're just trying to see I think we want to enjoy the experience. We want people to enjoy the rum as well. So it's very much a very sort of soft touch. Just see what it does, and then if it develops, it develops. But it's all available, and yeah, we can keep pushing it as much as we like.
Well, you know what? I commend you for everyone to know. The Rumcast brand, sister brand of Skylark Spirits, does a lot of events every weekend, and we bumped into Sachin with this rum. Must have been only a couple of months in, and we could tell that he was a true rum soldier. He's out there with his product, really trying to go out and show customers the quality of stuff that he's made. So, again, a big up to you. If anyone in the room wanted to buy a bottle, where would be the best place to go and purchase?
Well, actually, the signature, we've not bottled it yet. That's how new it is. So it's very much not available, which just makes it even more in demand. But what we're doing, we are taking pre-orders. We're hoping to get the batch made in June and bottled. So we're taking pre-orders. If you go to our website, which is hutty-spirits.co.uk, send us an email on that. We can put you on our list, and we can make sure that you're first to know when it's available. And we are doing, you might see some fairs around the UK over the next few months, and we might have a bottle there. But at the moment, it's very, very early stages for this one. The other two are available, but again, they're different profiles. So the other ones we have, let me so we have this one, which is a purple one, which is passion fruit and elderflower. So passion fruit, elderflower, and cardamom. This is 22%. This is a rum liqueur. Made it very light intentionally to make sure that it's a summer drink. Again, it's nice with neat ice and lime, and also with the fruit juices and lemonades and tonics. And then we got a darker one, which is this one here, which is also all spice rum. So this is orange and honey. So this is very much orange honey in a dark rum. And that works well in espresso martinis, daiquiris. We use it in the dark and stormies that we do as well. So that's quite a good punch heavy sort of one. So those ones are available on our website if you're interested, and we always offering deals and stuff. So if you let us know, we'll put it on the main list, and if the deal's ready, we'll let you know to there. So yeah,
fantastic. That's really good. Let's open up the floor to everyone else. Guys, any feedback for Sachin and his brand?
I like this. A nice mixing rum. Definitely, I think it's more of a mixer than having it straight. I've got ginger beer with me, and it tastes lovely with a bit of ginger beer. There's a little bit of ice.
I'm just trying it with ginger ale, and similar. Yeah, really, really pulls out those flavours. Lovely.
Yeah, agreed.
I tried it with cranberry, and I thought, great cocktail.
Oh,
sounds lovely.
Oh, amazing.
Aha! Well, is it something rum casting? You guys stocking this?
This is available in the UK already because Sachin's part of the UK. So, jump over to his website, jump his mailing list and stuff. This product's ready to go. And you're literally getting in on the very first batch he's making. So if you do buy one, I would recommend meet him at a show, get him to sign it. It'll be worth some good money in some years to come.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, definitely.
Last that long.
Yeah, cool.
Buy two, just buy two. I'll sign both. You can drink one, it's fine.
All right, cool. Give us your socials, Sachin, so we can follow you and continue the story.
I'll stick him on the chat. It's pretty best.
Legend.
So Instagram, TikTok is Hutty Spice, so hutty.spice rum. On Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The website is Hutty Spirits, which I'll put on as well. Hutty Spirits.
Perfect. Any questions from anyone else? Anyone want to add?
Not a spiced rum drinker normally, but that was delicious. That was
excellent.
That was absolutely sipping drink. I wouldn't put anything with it for me.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you.
High praise. High praise indeed.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming on, Sachin. I'm sure I'm definitely going to put my name down for a bottle. When is your next show? Where are you this weekend?
Just locally at the moment. So we're doing a fair in Bennington, which is South London. We're doing a VE street party on Sunday. We're doing a lot of things. We're doing supper clubs later on in the year. We've got 2 pop-up bars that we signed up for. So we're doing our cocktails at bars in London for events. Best thing to do if you want to see where we are, just follow us on Instagram. We post everything on there when it's coming up. Most things that we do are free, so you just turn up and get a bit splashed. It's fun.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciated.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin.
So that's really cool, man. I love when we bring people on who are kind of really, really new, really kind of come in their first year within the rum industry, and we get to showcase them nice and early. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see where we go next. Is everyone enjoying it? Everyone having fun?
Marvelous.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
It's
Okay.
it's a great way to spend a Friday night, mate. Great way to spend a Friday night.
It's a
Absolutely.
lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay.
Loving the leading lines on your video. It's really good. Our son photographer would go, brilliant.
It's so Wes Anderson. You picture the other side for proper symmetry.
Okay, so Indy, have we got Sean in?
He was there. I saw him.
Excellent. Sean, come forward, please. So this is a brand super close to our heart. As you know, our sister brand, Skylark Spirits, looks after Montagna across the UK and Europe. I think some of you guys have tasted this product in the past with us when it was with Karen. And there's been some changes in that, which I'm sure we're going to address during the call. But we should have now in your packs, you should have 5 drams. You should have a Platino, an Oro, an Exclusiva, a Valentia, and then you guys are the very first people in Europe to sample the brand new pineapple and habanero. So that's 5 drams that we're going to try and squeeze into the next 30, 40 minutes. Cool. Everyone with us still?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. Let's, Indy, if you could put the spotlight onto the main man, Sean. Welcome, Sean. Welcome to the Rumcast event.
What's happening, y'all? Thank y'all for having me. Sitting in for Megan today, our head distiller, who is off to Mexico. As you know, or some people might know, we are based in Crested Butte, which is a big tourist ski town. So at this time of year is the start of mud season, when all the snow melts and everything turns into mud. And we get a little break from the tasting room and the distillery to go out and live a different life. So Megan is out on vacation, a much needed vacation for the first time since we took over.
No, we appreciate you being part of it, and thank you for stepping in. Let's start with the obvious question. Tell me all about you and how you've become to be a big part of the Montagna brand and rum creation.
Well, Montagna is kind of a legacy craft rum distillery in America, in the States. Just celebrated our 16th year in existence. Montagna was founded by Karen Hoskin, who was the first woman to pull a distillery permit west of the Mississippi post-prohibition. I met Karen a few years ago on a jaunt, similar to what Jimmy was doing. I was traveling around to rum distilleries. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it to Martinique and some of the other places due to just having some issues with getting flights there. But brought me into the industry. Karen was a mentor of mine, and I came to be interested in rum. One, my old man was an ag professor, so we spent a lot of time where I'm from in Southeast Texas, going into Louisiana, and to basically what is the sugar industry in America, where they grow the majority of cane still to this day, stateside. And then 2, we had a lot of students that were from the islands, from Jamaica, from Aruba, from different places in the Caribbean. And unfortunately for me, my first go around with rum was tasting Ray and Nephew when I was like 10 years old. So it kind of scarred me, but it also interested me. And the story of American rum also is kind of untold. It's not as sexy as a lot of places. There are no, you know, no pretty beaches and pirates to speak of, but there's a lot of history and soul in American rum. And we are trying to bring that back. My partners and I purchased Montagna from Kevin. I mean, Karen in the end of 2023. Megan and Renee were longtime employees at Montagna, both of whom spent time as the head distiller. Renee for about the first 8 years of the distillery's existence was the head distiller, and Megan has been the head distiller now for about 4 years. My background is in marketing, so we wanted to kind of put everything together and see if we could not only survive taking on a legacy distillery, but also scale to the next level and help, elevate other brands as well, right? Like a rising tide in this category lifts all boats.
Yep.
In America, it's all about bourbon and tequila, right? So we're fighting to get right here, and we're doing so with some really good luck.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. And how are you finding it? You've been here a couple of years. What's it like owning a rum distillery?
Well, America has its specific challenges that we could probably speak about for days. Colorado, though, is very, very inviting to own a distillery or a brewery for that matter. It's been very progressive as far as laws are concerned. Our other place of business, Texas, has not been so much, right? And if people know, over the last year and a half, spirit sales are down. We've been fortunate enough to have grown over the time since we took the helm, which we're very blessed on that level. We put in a lot of hard work. And then eventually, after laying the groundwork, we were able to get back to distilling, getting shipments of sugar cane in and doing our best. But it has definitely been a process, a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights. I'm sure what everybody was going through, and then a lot of getting out on the ground, trying to elevate this American rum category.
And you're doing a great job of it as well. Not even the quality of your stuff, but actually the total American category. I've seen some fantastic rums coming out of America, but Montagna is a bit different because their ethos is different. Maybe you can talk us through. Tell us about that.
So, Montagna is a certified beef, right? We lead with sustainability and value diversity. We're a women-led, BIPOC-owned distillery at 9,000 feet elevation in the Colorado Rockies. Okay, which makes us the only high mountain distillery in the States, right? Comparable to your Zacapos and some of your high altitude rums in Central and South America. But with a decidedly Rocky Mountain cultural slang, right? It really is different. Water boils at a lower temperature that high up, and it gives us a balance, I think, that some other American rums might not be privy to, just because we are higher up in elevation. There is there's a different type of aging period, right? When you're up, it's going to be cold at night. It's going to be warm during the day, and by cold at night, I mean like 23 degrees, and then during the day it could get up to 70s, which speaking in Fahrenheit terms.
But that's quite a swing versus the guys down in Australia at Jimmy's, right? That's quite a big difference, right?
what season are y'all in down? Jimmy, I'm really interested. Y'all have a great story. Congrats on it.
I think because they're Southern Hemisphere, they're the flip of us.
Right.
So
pretty much we're coming into, well, we're in autumn, but coming into winter shortly. But like I said, we've got an extraordinary late summer as such, so it's really quite warm at the moment. But yeah, no, we're heading into winter now.
Heading into winter, so yeah, we're the opposite up here.
Right. Yeah, we're just coming out of 30 feet of snow.
Okay, cool. So talking about the ethos directly of the brand, it's all about sustainability. Let's crack for the first rum open and let's talk about what you mean about sustainability. Why is your process different from other people's process to call it the most sustainable?
Well, one, we're in a very sensitive area, right? Everything that we do affects the environment around us, and from runoff to carbon footprint, everything, right? Like we're in a protected alpine forest, and it's part of what we do is really try to give back to the environment around us. So we recycle. Our pineapple hab is our first release in a 100% recycled bottle, with with labeling as well. But we try to use every little bit of everything we do, and repurpose it as well. Right, we follow the rules that a B Corp should follow, and it did take a while to get certified. We just recertified about 3 months ago. So it's part of what we do, right? We only use family sugarcane farms in Louisiana.
Oh, tell me more. That sounds exciting. Tell me all about that.
Well, as opposed to some other places, sugarcane in South Louisiana is an industry, right? So the type of cane is industrial, right? You're not going to get some of the softer canes that you get in Hawaii or Martinique or in other places, right? These were bred for sugar, right? For table sugar.
Right.
We're able to work with people, that on smaller farms, and take a little bit more care of what they're farming as opposed to volume farming, right? There's a family co-op that we've been getting sugar from for about 7 years.
Wow, the same company for 7 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a co-op, so it's a group of small farmers.
And is that the non-genetically modified? Like you're the only guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy that most sugar in the world was genetically modified, and then to find a rum distillery that will specifically find that type of non-genetically modified. I can't think of another brand that does that, to be honest.
It's it's what some people would call business crazy, right? Like, but it's part of who we are. It's in our DNA and our values, and we're committed to it. So
when you continue. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So once you've purchased that cane, what kind of process is that? What happens between that purchase and the production?
So we get shipped to Colorado and we immediately start fermenting. We have our tanks in our distillery. We immediately start fermenting, and we don't make rum every day, unfortunately, because it is pricey. But we make sure that the rum that we do make, we don't mess up. So it is a delicate process. The sugarcane has a life once it's cut, right? Like it doesn't last too long, and immediately the sugar levels start going down.
Cool. Let's crack open that Platino. And then let me ask you some questions because obviously, as far as I'm aware, as sugar cane, as soon as that's pressed, the yeast from the cane is going to start working at it. And you're some distance from Louisiana, so how do you get that product to you like that?
Special tricks. No, but it's so we get every little bit of it, right? Process ferment, and it starts fermenting. We get we get the green. I mean, we get the stalks. We get everything, and we have our special fermenting process that allows us to get everything we can.
Fantastic. And so you ferment and you distill. Yeah. Let's do a tasting of the Platino, and then we'll pick up the rest of the story.
Sure. So this is our Platino. This is our white rum. We do age our Platino 1 year in a local Colorado whiskey, Laws whiskey. We use American oak from their barrels. We're excited to work with other local distillers. That community kind of helps us move along. But then we filter it and take the color out. And one thing we get a lot with the Patino is one, we're aging our white rum, but two is it's incredibly smooth, right? And it plays well with some people, right? And then there are some people that want a little bit more funk on it. But our white rum we take pride in is very balanced and very clean, and it's very smooth mouthfeel. If you can taste that, right? And it's great for anything you would do, daiquiris, mojitos. We mix this with our Oro for our painkiller, which is very big in the tasting room. And then this is kind of the lead in, right? Like when we do tastings with this, for the most part, this is America, right? If you're not a rum enthusiast, you think rum tastes like one of the major produced brands, and it's
absolutely
sweet, and it's just not what we are. So we definitely love the fact that we can lead in with a white rum that kind of throws people off of what the majority of people who think rum tastes like.
So talk me through the process, because obviously as soon as you put a fluid into a barrel, as long as it's not extremely old, you're going to impart some of that woodiness. How have you managed to get it back to becoming clear?
We filter it through coconut charcoal.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, charcoal filtering is a process for stripping color in most in a lot of distilleries, but it just gets it back down without sacrificing flavor.
But the coconut aspect of it is quite different, right? Not many people are doing that.
I think that there was a time when that wasn't the case, but I think it is. We know a few people in the States.
It's become a thing now.
Yeah.
That's good.
But
the trend.
The elevation, I think, gives us a little more, a little balance in this. And again, it's something we used to lead in.
Cool. Let's get some feedback, and then we'll switch into the Oro. Anyone got anything? Anyone want to throw anything at this? I'm a big fan of the product myself. I think the coconut husk gives it a crispiness.
We appreciate that.
All right, let's move on to the Oro. Everyone seems happy with that. How does the Oro differ from the Platino?
It's aged 2 years, right? And then Laws whiskey barrels, no additives, of course, right? No added sugar, no added anything. It's oak. It's oak, spirit, and that's it.
And so you said it's aged for 2 years in the Colorado Laws whiskey barrel.
In the Colorado Laws whiskey barrel.
What happens after you empty it? What happens to that barrel next?
We try to find ways to reuse. You know, maybe it's for finishing for other spirits, but we rarely dispose of things, and if we do, it's going to somebody else to use.
Got you. All right, let's move on with the Oro tasting. Let's see. Feel free to throw anything extra in, anyone. So Oro, 2 years aged. Go for it.
I'm getting gooseberries.
Ooh, that's a good call.
I wish I could taste with y'all, but I have a school pickup with 2 kids here in about 30 minutes. Probably.
You'd best not then.
Probably wouldn't do too bad.
Okay, what do people think about the Oro? Any feedback? For 2 years old, that's a pot stilled rum.
I've always found this very, whenever I've explained it, it's like a rum with a whiskey jacket, because that Law's whiskey barrel is actually quite prominent right at the start of it. You almost like go, oh, it's a nice way you're starting with like that whiskey bourbon note, but then you can very quickly transition across into the rum. So it's always kind of a lovely way to bridge the gap between the two spirits.
I'd never really thought of that, but that's quite an interesting point actually, because I mean I've had Oro here before, and I'm a whiskey drinker, you know, back in the day. So that is an interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but that is actually quite true.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
We do get, and thank you for making that point. We do get a lot of lead in, right? Especially as we get into some of the other, you know, some of our other spirits here. Our expressions, I think that might be a little more prominent as we get down to Valencia. But we do.
So that was a really, really fair point, actually. When I'm out and about with my Skylark hat on and my bag of rums, the Montagna will always appeal to customers that are either in smoking cigar lounges or are whiskey bourbon forward places.
Right.
Anywhere where you've got a bourbon drinking crowd and you want to bring them into the rum category, absolutely, Montagna is really impressive. For me personally, of the 4 SKUs, the Exclusiva, which we're about to taste next, is my favorite. But there's a bit of a play on the barrel here that Sean can take us through.
Yeah, so this is our Exclusiva, and y'all have to work with me. I know I'm blurry here. It's our Exclusiva, aged 3 years, and you know typically begins in our Laws whiskey barrels for a 3-year period, and then for a 2.5-year period, and then we finish it for that last 6 months in Colorado wine barrel from a local winery in the Gunnison Valley, which is where Crescent is located. And it definitely has kind of like a drier kind of like tannic finish to it. It's interesting.
Yeah,
and I would definitely say this is. I go back and forth between this and Valencia as my favorite. So it just kind of depends on the season.
The thing is, if you were to look at the rum category right now, you've got a lot of independent bottlers who are finishing their rums in these really fancy wine casks. Just through sustainability and having wine locally, you've managed to pull off this maybe 5-6 years ago. You're way ahead of the curve with this product. I really think it's phenomenal. Come, Stuart, tell me, what do you think, bro? I see you're sipping away.
Just trying to find the unmute button. I'm trying to work out on the smell, which one I prefer out of the two, the last one and this one. At the moment, it's still the last one, but I'm just about to taste this one. So bear with, caller. Your call is important. To me, that tastes so much different to the smell. there is it's very dry when you smell it to me,
Yeah.
but I'm not. It has that. It just feels nice and smooth and not dry on the taste. I'm not sure. Does that make sense?
I tend to get like right down the center of my tongue, I get like
Yes.
a drying note, which almost is the opposite of drinking like a bamboo when your mouth is just smashed with sugar. This is actually drying the center part of my tongue out, which is really
Yeah.
unique for a rum.
That is on the taste is very nice. It's completely different as I say to the smell.
I
Yeah,
always love the comparisons to bamboo because that's my brother's favourite.
I can say
I'm working on it, but you know,
Give him a bottle of Sitara. You'll change him quickly.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Okay, looks like people are enjoying that one, and really we need a bit more time to kind of really understand these rums and stuff. So maybe Sean, let's talk about obviously being your importer and distributor out here. There's so many cool USPs about this brand that just never gets shouted about. But tell me about glass, the production of glass and cradle to cradle glass. Tell me why Montagna is so different.
Well, we have our partner here, O2, and everything they do is based on sustainable practices, right? So cradle to cradle to cradle, it's basically a production site, right? And everything that they do is based on sustainable practices and less waste and what they have. And that's the bottling. It's a bit more pricey, but again, it's part of our value system, and we have to work with based on what we believe in our commitment.
Okay. Okay. No, I love it because we sell a whole bunch of different rums, and one of the questions I always speak to our partners is the production of glass is one of the most poisonous processes on the planet. Like that runoff water is highly toxic. You get major global brands who are buying all of their glass out of China and not really caring about what happens to everything around them. And then, you go to Tesco or the local Walmart and the products on shelf there are like $10, dirt cheap. And there's got to be a level of when someone has to call that out. And I love that Montagna really uses this cradle to cradle glass option because in the UK market, there's a lot of what I call greenwashing. There's a lot of people out there telling me how sustainable they are when really, your glass should be one of the very first places. And I remember bumping into Karen many years ago and being blown away by this story of cradle to cradle glass, not really being aware. I'm sure most consumers aren't aware. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about supply chain, right? And for us, our glass is 100% made in America, because that was the partner that we chose. But they are global. But we were lucky to kind of grandfather into a great relationship with our glass.
I mean, there's also maybe you can tell the people online everyone about Zoetica and how that fits into the wider Montagna story.
Yeah, well, that we definitely had a few things that we wanted to do as far as recycled glass that wasn't necessarily with a new product. Are we moving into the pineapple habanero right now?
Yeah, go for it. Let's taste the next rum while we're talking.
Okay, so this is our pineapple habanero.
Oh, can we go to? Everyone should have the Valentia next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do Valentia, and then we'll come back round to the last one.
So this is our Valentia, right? And this is our 4-year age rum. And we finished 6 months. We finished 6 months in rye whiskey. So this definitely has kind of a spicy finish to it. But this is some Stewart, I think, the Stewart or the spoke on kind of that whiskey.
Maybe it was Jen. Maybe it was Jen, one of the two.
This kind of grabs all the bourbon notes in America. It's in this is the one that people that are at a steakhouse or at a higher end pub with a cigar they request.
Yeah, for me, this is executive top tier. I don't think people understand that this is probably one of the most delicious. I mean, rye automatically gives you a spiciness. So I've given this as a spiced rum, a non-sweet spiced rum to customers, and they've loved it. I mean, it really does stand up as a spiced rum if you get that rye finish, because it's not a short flash age. I think it was 6 months to a year finish, right? So
Yes.
it's very, very unique again in the market from 5-6 years ago.
I would love to get some feedback on that one.
Guys, anyone want to come in and give some info on that? All right, let's get someone in. Who should we jump? Who should we ask?
I find this one quite interesting because I've got the Valentia on the optics behind me, and I've not really been drinking it that much.
Oh,
and so it's quite interesting to compare. I think actually I prefer the exclusive one. I don't know. It's interesting. They're both, Montagna is always fantastic, let's face it. But yeah, it's really interesting to go back and compare the different ones. Because I've got that one on the optics. It's like I've not been drinking that much.
I prefer the Oro and the exclusive films.
Go on, Jen.
No, but I think they're both fantastic, both complex, but they're very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some ways, and I think that exclusive has almost got like a slightly more, I want to say more almost like a smokier or sort of a whiskier sort of taste, whereas the Valentia is more of a lighter sort of. I'm not very good with these descriptive sort of terms, but I know what I like. So it's really interesting to spot the difference. I mean, they're both fabulous. Don't get me wrong, but it's interesting to come back to that one as I've got in the optics and I've not been drinking it. I don't know why I've not been drinking it. And I've got quite a lot here, so it's like it's your fault. I trust you. I blame you entirely. But
I'll take that.
It's interesting to go back to the exclusive and think. Actually, no, I think that one might be more my taste profile as a whole.
Well, thank you, Jen. That was good. I think you're the same with that. They're very different for different occasions. Stuart, you got anything you want to chuck in on that?
No, I was going to say the same. I've been trying to sniff all four, to be fair, and just trying to go back all between all of them, and all of them are so different.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for me to go, I prefer that one because I don't smoke, but I can see the cigar bit on the last one. The exclusive, again, I can just see me sitting there and having some real nice glasses of that as well. All of them, to be fair, I could sit there and drink quite happily. I think probably the exclusive is probably the nicer one to me, but I do really like the Valentina as well. But I could go with all of them. That's not really helpful, but that's where I am.
Thank you, buddy. We've got Matt in the background as well. He's putting his kids to bed, but he's forgotten how easy that Valentia is as well. Looks like everyone's got their own favourites here. What about you, Glennis? Nat, you got a favourite out of the range?
I really like the Exclusiva, but I'm literally hugging this, waiting for you to tell me I can try it because spicy.
Yeah, I am. So I'm looking forward to the Habanero. I'm not going to lie.
Exclusiva so far, but yeah, I'm hugging this.
It's the brand new one. We had to make you wait for it. That's the whole point.
Oh yeah, this is.
Valentia is quite nice. Out of a lot of them, the challenge I have is I'm a rum head, not a whiskey fan, not a bourbon fan, and a lot of the brands they remind me of whiskey and bourbon, and that's why I struggle with it. I'm a don't like whiskey, don't like bourbon. If you give it to me, not interested. Out of a lot of them, the Volunteer was the one that I would probably sort of taste the most. But I think, as Lenny said, I'm looking forward to the habanero to taste that one because it sounds really interesting.
It's interesting. I appreciate the feedback. And then Jazz, I didn't want to get away from Zoetica, but I thought we would lead into kind of like with our pineapple hob and like how we kind of found our recycled bottle and
go for it. Tell us.
Working with research management for our biodiversity and biodegradable things, but and like the fruit that we use of this, how we process everything after we're done with it, and the partnership we have with our waste partner. But I could touch on that a little bit, but I did want to get to this. This is our first new release in some time. Thanks, Nat. This is our pineapple habanero. It is with fresh pineapples and fresh habaneros, handpicked by Megan, and steeped in our platino. Right. So the base of this is our platino. There is no coloring added to this. That's all. That's strictly from the pineapple. That gold is strictly from the pineapple, and the orange of the habanero, steeped, and it's got a little bite to it, right? And it's definitely got that fruit forward nose where you get a lot of the pineapple and some of the floweriness of the habanero. But we are really excited about this one. It's great if we can. I don't know if I could post a link on here for our Fiery Passion. It's great with our Fiery Passion cocktail. And
Please do.
We are looking forward to getting this kind of moving around the market.
Okay, buddy, tell us what's in the bottle. How have you made this?
It's just fresh pineapples and fresh hobs in steeped in our platino. Like that's it.
How long's the steeping process for?
Ooh, let me see here. That's a Megan question, but
so the platino has been aged for 1 year, charcoal filtered, and then
re-steeped in.
And where are you getting your pineapples and your habs from?
We get them from the local market.
Oh,
yeah. It's not exotic, and they definitely don't grow in Colorado.
No,
but just enough to where we get the color, and did a lot of testing to make sure that color lasts. So this was something that we were working on as soon as we got our we were able to take the reins and did testing on this one for about 6 months before we were able to even consider it going to market, because we needed to make sure that there was no separation. Definitely there's going to be a little bit of sediment at the bottom because just over time, but it definitely holds its beautiful color and its flavor as well.
Fantastic. All right, guys, loaded up. Everyone having a sip. Let's see what you think. This is a new product. Looking forward to your feedback on it. Let's go with the Fuller family. You guys haven't spoken to us yet.
Wow. I mean, you can smell the pineapple on the nose, and it's not that sweet, sickly pineapple that you get on a lot of them. You try it, it's lovely, and then suddenly your mouth just starts to go, oh, this is warm. Oh, it's getting a bit warmer. Oh wow, this is great. I love this. I really love this. Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Oh, got a round of applause. Is that your favorite out of the 4, out of the 5?
we're in a bit of an argument here.
Yeah.
She liked the Exclusiva and I liked the Valentina. So, but I've been a whiskey drinker and not so much. But also the original one, the Platino, I really liked that one as well. I thought it was very smooth and it was great as well. So yeah, really, really happy again.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that.
I love a chili based rum, and this is absolutely fabulous. And please tell us we can get hold of it somewhere, because it's this is absolutely up my street.
Follow Skylark Spirits. Watch this space.
Always.
I think a day without a bit of a waste of a day. And this is, to me, is probably the first what I would call a spiced rum. It's stunning. I'm not sure I could drink a bottle, but certainly 3 or 4 would be perfect. It's yummy.
I could try drinking a bottle. I'd give it a go.
I'm prepared to take that one for the team if it would be helpful.
To be fair, he did say he'd drink 3 or 4, so.
So having looked at this since the second I opened my tasting pack, and I have to fess up that I've tried all of the other Montagnes before and loved them. The Exclusiva is my favourite. I can't compare those to this because they're completely different and I'd want them for very different things. I am itching to put this in a chili dark because that's what I order when I go to bars. Like, I'm always trying to get them to make me something that's got a bit of a hit. Mango and chili often is the thing, but this is just delightful and it's so different. So yeah, thank you very much. It's really, really delicious.
Great.
So now you put this in a cocktail. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sean
Put this
was
in a daiquiri.
about a passion fruit and ginger beer based cocktail.
Yeah, the
but
fiery
for me,
passion.
passion fruit and ginger.
Fiery passion, yeah, it's got both of those in it.
Cool. This is good.
Yeah, but to me, it's got a Bloody Mary written all over it. Right, this and a Bloody Mary, I think, would be phenomenal.
Oh, now you're ruining it. No,
Oh.
no, don't do tomato juice. No.
Well, I'll definitely.
One of my favourite non-rum cocktails is a chili-based margarita.
Yeah.
So a very similar sort of.
Just switch it to rum, Jen, and everything will be wonderful in your life.
Oh, believe me, I regularly do.
No, definitely will relay this to Megan. You know, she put in a lot of hard work, you know, in building this, and you know, it's for an older, you know, kind of craft rum brand like us, kind of moving out of that. This is the first flavored rum that we've ever released, so we were excited, and it's great to hear positive feedback on that. So thank you all.
Fantastic. All right, shall we do a little vote and see?
When's it going to be available in the UK?
Stay close to the Skylark Spirits social media, and I'm sure there'll be something.
Okay.
I mean,
because I would pay 105 Australian for this happily.
Wasn't that a politician's answer? Stay close. Oh, have you been watching like the TV or something? Wow.
If this doesn't come out the
put a
WhatsApp
tariff
group
on it, we'll be
first,
fine.
I'm
Just
going to
don't put a tariff on it.
we're all right. There's no tariff our way.
Yeah.
If we were sending it that way, we'd be in trouble.
WhatsApp group first. Otherwise, I'm going to be very offended.
I got you. Don't worry. We got you. You were good.
So, Jez, just before we get to voting, what if I can't make my mind up?
Well, you can have 2 votes. You can have 2 votes, okay?
You've got 2 hands.
Yeah. All right, cool. Indy, you want to run the vote?
Sure. I can do that. No problem at all. So hands up for Platino. All right. Oro. Exclusiva. Valentina.
The Valentina for me.
Yeah.
And then the pineapple hat.
That as well.
Okay. It is a crowd pleaser, Regen. I think the other four people have their favourites, but I think Pineapple have overall just is a general crowd pleaser.
It is a crowd pleaser.
Made my nose run. It's real chilly in it. My
Hey,
nose is
Bremer,
running.
you didn't like the other four. How did the Pineapple have come across to you then?
No, the Valentina I thought was okay. I think I like the kick to it. I mean, you taste it, you smell it, you get the pineapple hit straight away. There's no subtle smells of pineapple. When you put it in your palate, you get the pineapple flavors, and then within a few seconds, you get the hit of chili coming after. I love that, and that's why I said I'm a rum head. This is more rum-esque for me out of a lot of them. The Valentina I really liked, and it was the more rum-esque for my palate. But then this one is something, and I've got ginger beer with me, and I just put a bit of ginger beer in with it. Keep going. Love it. Very nice. Love that. Definitely the best out of 5 for me.
We'll try one afterwards and just leave a little bit for Catherine.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That was really good. I think lots of feedback. Sean, you happy with that?
I am.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear good things and straightforward things. We welcome it, and I appreciate it all.
Lovely. If you could give us your social media so we can see and follow the journey along the way, please.
We're heavy on Instagram at Montagna Distillers, and then online montagnadistillers.com. We dabble in Facebook still, but Instagram is the best place to find us.
Perfect. And I think one of the cool other things to say is Indy got a trip to go to Colorado, so he's been to the distillery. He's been in that snow and stuff, and they're very kind and welcoming. So if anyone ends out going skiing out in Aspen, please do drop in on the guys at Montagna.
Sounds like Lucky Indy.
Please.
Yeah, I don't say it through my teeth at all.
Yeah, it's terrible. You'll all hate it. Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, Sean, thank you so much for your love and your time.
Thanks, Jazz, Andy, and thank everybody here.
Good luck, school run.
Oh yeah, school run in about 5 minutes. So.
Oh wow.
Timing, we're good at time. Okay, fantastic. So let's move on to the patient guy in the corner. Even though it's what time's it out there, James? Oh, you're on mute still, bro.
Yeah, we're at 5:22 a.m.
Tell me, did you stay up all night or did you wake up early?
No, I was wise. I went and had a little sleep, had a few drinks last night, didn't play up too much, and went to bed and woke up. And not often that I start drinking at 3 a.m. in the morning, to be honest. This is the first, but I've started, and who knows where I'll be at 7 a.m. But let's see what happens.
Fantastic. This is what I'm talking about. Now, just as a bit of background for everyone, about must be 5-6 years ago, I really tried to comb the whole of the Australian rum market to try and find some cool brands to come across. And as well as Jimmy's rum and Brick's rum, there was a whole bunch of others. But this stuff that they recently showed me when I bumped into them, was it last month or the month beforehand, really caught my eye. Some of these products here are really, really tasty in their own right. So if we could bring our good friend Jimmy to the front of Brick's Rum. Thank you, Indy. So, Mr. James, Brick's Distillers, tell me all about it, bruv. What's the story?
Yeah. I guess first of all, thanks everyone for hanging in there and hanging around. It's great to be on the chat, and hopefully your palates are still intact. That's that little range from Montagna. I'm a little bit jealous I didn't get a pack, guys, but I'm definitely keen to try those. I've been following those guys online for a long time now, so definitely keen to. I'm not sure if they can get the products here in Australia, but keen to try them. But yeah, our journey, I guess, in a similar way to what we heard from James. You're talking to the second James from a second Australian rum distillery, whether we call ourselves the two Jameses of Australian rum. At some stage, we're going to try and do some sort of collaboration together, but that'll be down the track a bit. But I guess much like James and a few of the other brands that we've heard on tonight, our journey has been quite similar in the fact that we saw that rum wasn't being, presented in the right light around Australia. And we decided to try and do something about it. I've got a long hospitality background running bars and restaurants here in Australia in both Sydney and Melbourne. And I guess our light bulb moment came when we were sitting around, myself and my two business partners sitting around at our bar one night having a drink, and we were always rum drinkers. We used to sit around and drink imported rums because 7 years ago, before we started, there wasn't too much good Australian rum flying around. As James mentioned earlier, we had one big brand here called Bundaberg, and that was sort of the showpiece of what Australian rum was at the time. There's a few other little guys making some rum at the time, but nothing really striking home. Most of the rum, the good rum we could get our hands on, was imported from overseas. So we were sitting around drinking some Ronza Kappa actually at the time. I remember distinctly this moment. We were sitting around drinking Ronza Kappa, sort of talking about what our next move was going to be. Are we going to open another bar? Are we going to do a restaurant? Or are we going to sort of put more focus into this venue and build it and grow it, drinking the rum? And looking at our selection of beverages at the time, we had 10 beers on tap at this venue, all of which were good quality Australian craft beers. We had a big shelf of at the time, Tasmanian whiskey had just kicked off, and Tasmanian whiskey was a big award-winning thing and the next big thing. So we tried to get as much Australian whiskey at the time as we could. And gin especially was a big thing at the time. And we're talking 7 years ago. Our shelf was full of Australian gin. And then we had one bottle of Bundaberg rum, and the rest was imported from overseas on the rum shelf. And so that was a light bulb moment for us of thinking, why don't we try and look into this rum category? Why are people not making rum in Australia? We should be making rum in Australia. We should be making really good quality stuff. We've got the sugar cane here.
Yep.
Bit of it, maybe a lot of people around the world don't know that Australia is the fourth biggest exporter of sugar in the world. I think we export 4 million tons of sugar a year or something. So the northern part of Australia is very tropical, and we grow very good quality sugarcane. I was up in Queensland last week, up in North Queensland, and you drive for hours upon hours upon hours, and you are literally driving through sugarcane fields for miles and miles, and it's unbelievable the amount of sugar that we grow here. I think it's sort of a little known thing when people say, "Oh, they make rum in Australia." What?
Yeah.
Didn't know about that. And most people don't realize that we actually have a huge sugar industry here. And of course, off the back of the sugar industry comes the molasses and the rum side of things. So yeah, for us, it was that light bulb moment of we should be making good quality rum here in Australia, and let's give it a try. And much like James McPherson from Jimmy Rum, we went on our own little journey around, but we went to visit all the distilleries around Australia, just to see what they were doing and why they were not making rum. Why were they making whiskey and gin and not rum? And we went on a little trip around the country and visited a whole bunch of great operators and great craft distilleries, maybe 20 in total. At the time, there wasn't that many. I think there was probably about 50 or 60. Now there's about 700 distilleries in Australia in total. But at the time, we went around the country on a little sort of research trip. Was a great trip, just to try and understand why people weren't drinking or why people weren't making rum. And the resounding answer was really, well, I don't know. We just make whiskey. We chose whiskey, and while the whiskey's aging, we're making gin. That's just what we've decided to do because everyone is talking about Australian whiskey at the moment. So for us, that was a little light bulb moment to go back to Sydney and say, right, let's put some good thought into creating a really good quality Australian made rum made with good quality Australian sugarcane and molasses, and really trying to elevate the offering in Australia so that when people do, Bundaberg rum and the sort of the entry level rums here in Australia. We do get the Krakens and the Captain Morgans and the Sailor Jerrys, all that sort of stuff here as well. And that is okay for a lot of people while you're younger and you're partying and having fun and letting loose a bit. But I guess after a while, your palate matures and you want to go and try and find something else and grow into a category. And really, in Australia at the time, this is like I said, 7 years ago, there wasn't really much to look for in the rum category. So a lot of people would move over to whiskey and climb the whiskey ladder. And so our goal was to try and offer a step for Australians to move on to the next step for a rum choice. And at almost at that exact same time, we met James and found out we were on a very, very similar path. We almost opened. I think we were within weeks of each other that we started distilling. And we met at a function or event and realized, oh my God, we've both had this realization. We're both on this journey. Let's really attack it together and trying to build a category here in Australia. And since then, there's been I think we're like James said, I think we're up to about 40 or 50 distilleries making rum now in Australia, which is fantastic because it should be done. Like I said, we have the sugarcane here, which means we have the molasses here. We have the temperature and the climate south of Australia, down where James is, and further south in Tasmania, is very different to where we are in Sydney. We have much more of a temperate, more even, sort of stable climate. I think as you go further south, you get a bit of a cooler climate in winter and a bit of a hotter climate. So you get more spikes and peaks and troughs. Over the year in Sydney, we get a sort of a hot winter, and we gradually taper off into a hot summer, I should say, and we gradually taper off into a relatively temperate, cool winter. So it's a bit of a different aging style, but the results have been fantastic for us, and we're really proud of what we're doing. So I guess the ethos of what we're doing is trying to create a really good Australian rum, at the same time trying to educate Australians about rum and give them a bit more knowledge and understanding around how rum is made, how rum can be enjoyed, and that there are better ways to drink rum than smashing 20 rum and cokes on Friday night and knocking yourself out. So that was our main goal. So
yeah, completely with you. It's all about quality of spirit over quantity of spirit.
100%.
I don't think people really get that until you get into your later years. Unless you're my little cousin and you drunk way too much rum around me. But that's a different story. So let's push on and try this very first rum.
So
tell us all
two
about
rums
of it.
Two rums we're going to try tonight. I guess just to follow on for a little bit of our production technique, we use Australian molasses from one particular sugar refinery in Australia called it's in Bundaberg, believe it or not connected to the Bundaberg Rum Distillery, but not too far down the road. We use a quality of molasses called refinery grade molasses, and that is the molasses not from the first pressing of sugarcane in extracting the sugar from the crystallized sugar from the cane juice. It's actually from the final step in refining sugar. It's called refinery grade molasses, and it's extracted when you're refining raw sugar, so crystallized raw sugar, into white sugar. So it's the very last pressing, if you like, of molasses or extraction of molasses from the raw sugar to the white sugar, and it's done in the sugar refinery as opposed to the sugar mill. So a lot of the tannic, bitter, savoriness of the sugarcane and the plant and the dirt, and sometimes there's rats and snakes that get swept up in the harvest and leaves and dirt and everything that goes in there. A lot of that's been removed already with the first extraction. You're now dealing with just raw sugar and refining it into white sugar. So you get a really lovely, rich, sweet, intense molasses that is the starting point for everything we do. I guess that's the base of everything we do, is with sourcing this really good quality molasses from Queensland. Two types of yeast.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is that where the brand name Brix comes from?
Exactly, yeah. So Brix is for those who may not know, Brix is a measurement of sugar in a solution. So when you're measuring how much sugar is in something, you're measuring the bricks of it. I mean, it's not exclusive to rum. It's winemakers use it, beer makers use it, bakers use it. Whenever you're fermenting something, you need to measure how much sugar's there to understand the process moving forward for your fermentation, how much yeast to add, what temperature, all that sort of stuff. So, as an example, the molasses we receive from Bundaberg refinery comes to us at 80 bricks.
Wow,
And it's
that's
pretty
high.
much a measure, a really good measure of how much sugar is in the molasses to then help you determine how much alcohol you're going to be able to produce. So we dilute our 80 bricks molasses down to 20 bricks. It's very thick and rich and intense at 80. It's too heavy and it's too viscous for the yeast to penetrate it. So we dilute it by about 4 times to get to 20 bricks. That's our fermentation point. So at 20 bricks, we then add our yeast, 2 types of yeast. I'll just rattle this off quickly, and then everyone can ask questions about it if you like. But it's a champagne yeast. We ferment with one type of yeast, a champagne yeast, in one tank, and we'll also use specific Caribbean rum yeast separately in another tank. We'll ferment those separately. The rum yeast will ferment over about 3.5 to 4 days. The champagne yeast a little bit longer at about 5 days. Takes it a bit slower. It's a bit more softer in its approach in the way it ferments. We'll then distill both of those ferments separately. We've got an 1,800 litre copper pot still that has 4 plates, which are removable if we need to remove them out, but it's essentially a pot still. We'll distill both of those ferments separately in the first run. We'll then combine those two extractions or low wines. They call it the first extraction, first distillation. We'll combine them and then distill them together. So what you're doing is creating two very distinct ferments, distilling them separately to really focus on the flavor of each ferment and what you've created. Then in the second distillation, we're actually distilling them together to bring them together. So what we're trying to achieve is this balance between a nice punchy rum note from the Caribbean rum yeast and this beautiful, soft, creamy, delicate note from the champagne yeast. And it's
So you're
about
combining
really controlling
you're
the process
combining
on
the
the
high
rum.
wines together at the end of your first run before blasting them again on your second run. Is that correct?
Correct.
Fantastic.
Two distillation runs. First distillation run is they're done separately. Second, they're both I think the low wines are put together to then put into the spirit run. Yeah.
The only other brand I've ever heard of to do that is a Haitian Claran brand, where they do a cane juice, a cane syrup, first distillation,
All right.
blend for the second. How come you came across that? How come you did that?
Mate, that's a question for our head distiller Shane. He's a bit of a genius. He's a well versed. He's been with us since the start for 7.5 years, and he's an engineer by trade. He's then also been in beer brewing and also in distilling whiskey and gin before us at Archie Rose. I don't know if you've heard of Archie Rose here in Sydney, but he was making gin and whiskey with those guys, and then came across to us to perfect our rum. So very well versed in the industry and obviously done a lot of research and very meticulous about everything he does to really create the best quality he possibly can.
That's
So
really
then
good.
just to finish off the story about this product itself, this is most of our aging here is at Brix is done into Australian wine casks. Now, we made a choice playing into our focus on local and craft in Australia as our theme for our brand. We made a choice to source barrels only from within the country. We didn't want to be bringing more barrels over from the Caribbean, from the States, from other parts of the world. We know we've got this amazing wine industry here. The world knows we've got this amazing wine industry here in Australia. So our mentality was, let's use those barrels that are here instead of letting them, turn into pot plants and firewood. Let's use them to build our flavor profile and actually extract a lot of those flavors out of the wine barrels. These wine barrels are generally used for about 8 vintages in a winery. The wine is usually in there at about 15% ABV, 6, 7 years in a row. And after about 6, 7, 8 years, the winemakers have got no use for them. They've extracted the flavor that the wine can. You then put a 60% spirit in there, and the high ABV spirit is going to react a lot more intensely with the oak and actually penetrate through into the oak further than the wine could. So there's a lot of untapped flavor in these wine barrels that we don't tell the winemakers that because they don't know the value that they hold for us. They don't know that there's this hidden, unlocked treat in there for us. But while we're sourcing these barrels for leaning into the ethos of trying to source everything locally from Australia. It is also giving us a very unique flavor profile in the fact that we're drawing from the wine that's been in the barrels prior as well. So this is actually our signature blend. We like to call this is Brix Australian Rum. This is 42.2% ABV. And it is a blend of 3 and 4-year-old rums, all aged in Australian wine barrels. So very focused on the wine barrel aging with this one specifically, and the next one. I'll talk to the next one a little bit more. But we also have beer barrels and other spirit barrels, whiskey barrels from around Australia. There's some really good corn whiskey being made in Western Australia. We can't call it bourbon, obviously, but it's essentially bourbon. So they have some American oak barrels which we've sourced, and we will have a bourbon barrel style aged rum come out as well, much like your Caribbean styles. But mostly wine casks that we're using. We've done a Pinot Gris cask, so a white wine barrel. We're using some fortified wine barrels. But this one in particular is a blend of red wine casks, mix of French and American oak. So you get this balance of spice and vanilla sweetness, and a mix of different wines as well. So different red wines that we source. You're getting the influence from the wine coming through, mostly from Shiraz, Grenache, Tempranillo, and Merlot, sourced from around the country from different wineries. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So on the nose, you do pick up on that wine note. You get a little bit of the red wine characteristic coming through, the red fruits and a little bit of the vanilla coming through from the casks as well. And then on the palate, I think you do pick up on the tannin of the wine as well. You're really getting this lovely textural element coming through. A lot of that is from the wine influence as well. So what are we tasting first? This is the Australian rum, the Brix Australian Rum. I'm not sure what the label you've got on there, but it's as opposed to the Tawny, which is going to be the next one.
The 42%.
That's right, 42.2%. Yeah. So this is sort of our sort of flagship product. It's a blend, so we do want this to sort of lead the charge when we're talking about our range. We want it to be really versatile and flexible as well. We put it at 42% because we wanted it to stand up in cocktails, but also and have the body and the characteristic when you're mixing and putting into cocktails, but also neat. We wanted it to have this lovely softness and smoothness to it as well that could be sipped on or just over ice or with a splash of just something just to break it. So yeah, it's sort of our lead product, and it's our signature blend, we like to call it. Any questions or comments or?
Yeah, feel free to unmute, and if you've got any feedback for James.
It's really delicious. It's a really lovely, easy, sort of what I would call entry level, as in, accessible, approachable sipping rum. Really, really great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's what this product is. That's exactly what we want it to be. Like I said before, we're really trying to get Australians to understand more about rum. And the last thing we want to do is to put, this is the first product we'll usually put in front of people, apart from maybe our cane spirit, our white rum. But we really want to get people to come into rum, and we don't want to scare them away. So if we can, this product is really about bringing people in and educating them and getting to understand that rum can be actually it's actually quite nice. It's quite like, oh, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. So for us, this is the entry into our range and into what rum can be for people, as opposed to, I guess we have a bit of a challenge here in Australia that people have this mentality of this wall up with rum, and we're really trying to break down that wall. I don't know what it's like in the UK. I was over there a little while ago, but it didn't seem to have that really sort of built up wall with rum. People were a lot more willing and open to try.
We do
But
have
in
that wall
Australia,
as
we
well. It's
yeah,
mainly everyone got drunk on Bacardi at 17, threw up everywhere, and
yeah,
then as a
yeah,
result, they disregard the entire rum category just because
correct.
it's one thing or one particular. That seems to be the general thing with rum.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing here. I guess, and that's where, us and Jimmy Rum and others around Australia, we've all sort of banded together and said, let's try and change that. Let's try and break that and get people thinking differently and understanding more about rum and really trying more things. So we love working together to achieve it all. The good thing about the Australian rum crew is that we're all mates and we all get along and we go to these events, and the rum corner is always the fun part because we're all getting along with each other and mucking around. The whiskey guys sort of tend to be a bit sort of competitive about who's his best or who's won the most awards. For us, it's about building a category and really getting people to understand more and growing this category we have here. And now we're at a point where brands like us and James and others have enough stock laid down to say, all right, let's now take this out to the world. Let's go to the UK. Let's go to the EU. Let's go to the States. Let's go to Asia. Let's show people what we've been doing over the past 7 years, and show them that Australian rum is not what people have thought for the past 30, 40 years. It's different now.
In comparison to Bundaberg, which I've got about 4 bottles that friends they bought me, I'd use it as drain cleaner. This I would drink all the time. Very smooth.
Yeah.
So well done, guys. Very nice. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
I'd say it's absolutely silky smooth. If I was starting out on rum and somebody gave me that, I wouldn't deviate from the path. Spot on. Thank you.
Right.
Great feedback. Great feedback.
Good to hear. Thank you, guys. And yeah, like I said, that's exactly what we're trying to do with this product is to just get people to say, okay, rum, I'm in. Let's go. What else is there? What else have you got? Let's try something else. That's what this product is all about. It
Sorry,
did win.
Into the forecast.
Sorry,
Yeah, absolutely. So is it one more question? Oh, for
Sorry,
the
I was
next one.
going to say, I switched on to the next one. I haven't tried it
Yep.
yet, but on the nose,
Yep.
I just get cream soda.
Great. Okay, well, let's go on to the next one. The next one is part of our. I'll just pull it down because it's up here on the back. But this is a different this is a next tier up for us. So this is what we call our select cask series. While the first one is a blend of a batch of that would be a blend of 40, maybe 50 barrels.
Wow.
Selected and put together as a blend. This is a select cask range, which is more in the single cask area. So these are barrels that we identify early on in their journey, and we put a special mark on them. And once we're surveying and tasting all of our barrels, we know very early on which ones are going to be performing better than others, which will be used in the blended rum, and which ones are standouts and which could possibly be put forward as single cask or rums or single cask expressions. This is one of those. This is actually a finish. So this is what we call finish. This has been aged in 2 different barrels for 2 different time periods and 2 different types of oak as well. So when I say that, I'm talking about 3 years aged sorry, let me get this right. This is actually 2 casks, 2 different Shiraz casks that were identified early on, French oak Shiraz casks, aged for 3 years. Then after 3 years, they're decanted, they're put together. So they were 220-litre French oak casks. So we have about 440 or a little bit less with some angel share, 440 litres of rum as a blend, a 2 cask blend. That body of liquid is then put into a 500-litre American oak tawny port puncheon. So we've got 2 separate barrels aged separately, then blended together to make one body of liquid, and then put into a port cask just for 3 months to finish. Okay, so we've got the length and the depth and the deepness of the Shiraz cask aging, and you get this little finish of sweet raisin port fortified wine notes, just to give it that little twist at the end. The port cask that we used was actually used for 28 years for port before we got our hands on it. So it was absolutely dripping with flavor. So when the rum went in, it was a very quick time that it actually managed to drag out that beautiful, rich, sweet port flavor, and it was a very quick finish. So 3 months just to put this little twist on at the end, and left this one up a little bit higher. This is sitting at 48.1%. Just to give it that extra bit of oomph as well. And really, this is all about the sipping experience. The first one, maybe you're using it in some cocktails, a rum old fashioned, or even mixes, ginger beer, even Coke, rum and Coke. Love a rum and Coke with that one. Makes a great rum Manhattan. Then now with this one, we're talking about just leave it as it is. It's delicious. Maybe one little cube of ice or a couple of drops of water, like James was saying earlier, just to open it up a bit. But yeah, this one's all about the expression, the story of the barrel and the expression of the barrel and what's happened in that cask.
I mean, I came across these guys at a show, must be about a couple of months back, and they gave me a sip of this, and I was like, literally at the end of the sip, please come on our next rum cask event. Unfortunately, there's a guy in the industry called Gary Lelliott. He will talk your tits off about how great Tawny port cask rums are and how great English Harbour's port cask is. I messaged him already about this. This is, to me, just phenomenal.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate.
this is
I thought you
absolutely
were
divine.
gonna,
It's
I thought you were going to say
divine.
there's a
It's a
guy that
really
talks more
gorgeous
than me.
rum.
It's very good.
Really lovely rum.
My favorite one of the night. Which I love it. It really is. It goes down to the smooth.
So my question to this is, what does it come out of the cask at? Because it won't be 48.1. It will come out higher, right?
No. Yeah, we barrel at 60% ABV. Sometimes we fluctuate a little bit depending on the barrel. If it needs a bit more, if it's a second or third fill, we might put it in a little bit higher just to drag a little bit more out of the barrel. But generally we barrel at 60. Like James, we get some angel share. We're at about 5% angel share. James, like you said, 7.5, I think it was down there. But I think that's probably due to you have this extreme peak in summer of like 42, 43 degree days sometimes. We sort of get more of a temperate heat that just sort of gently helps mature the rum. But our angel share is about 5%. But yeah, sometimes depending on the environment or the year, we do lose either alcohol or water. So it does fluctuate. Sometimes we get ABVs going up, sometimes we get ABVs going down. But yeah, generally we go in at about 60 and then we dilute from there. I'm not sure what this came out of the cask at, but it would have gone in at 60. And it would have been transferred from the Shiraz cask into the Tawny cask at 60. Then it would have come out of the Tawny cask and brought down to the 48 point.
It'd be interesting to see what that fluid's like at full cask.
Yeah, so we've only done, we've done two cask strength releases, and both have been very, very popular. One of the cask strength releases was in a Pinot Gris cask, a white wine cask, and it was a single cask, full aging, fully aged in the one cask, not a finish. French oak Pinot Gris cask from a very specific winery in New South Wales, here down a couple of hours from our distillery, and it was fantastic. It was just, I mean, it's probably the favorite rum we've put out. It was 60.7%. It came out, went in at 60, came out at 60.7. When it came out, we just were blown away that a white wine, hang on. First of all, white wine is not generally aged in oak. And so we were really lucky to get this really unique cask. I mean, Chardonnay, yes, but definitely not Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris is not generally aged. And then rum in a white wine barrel is not a normal thing either. So it was a little bit experimental for us. And when it came out, we were just like, whoa, this is superb. And it was beautiful and lemony and delicate and floral and light, very much along the whiskey line. And whiskey drinkers taste it and are shocked that it's rum. They can't understand how this can be rum. So we're actually blowing whiskey drinkers' minds as well, which is really great. And yeah, that won a bunch of awards, and it's all gone now, unfortunately. But we do have another cask of it. We put two down, and one came out at about 4.5 years age, and there's another one which will probably bring around the 6 year, maybe 7 year mark, just to really drive that one home. Yeah.
Keep us informed. I'll put my name down for a bottle of that now.
Definitely.
That sounds phenomenal.
Sounds like Jazz is having connection issues again.
Yep.
Even though we've drunk too much rum.
Maybe a
He's gone into shutdown.
Yeah.
A bit of a. So, Brim, I think you got cut off earlier. You were saying something, but you're a bit quiet. And I think Jazz might not have heard you. What were you saying earlier?
Me being quiet. That's not like. No, it's lovely. It's for me, it's the best rum of the evening so far. I would drink that all day long. I really would. It was such a lovely rum, very smooth. I like the story of being aged in wine cask, and it gives it. I'm going to boast it. I went to Foursquare a couple of months ago in Barbados, and I love their rums, and it could compare to some of the Foursquare type rums that I've drunk in the past. That's why I put that. That's a really lovely rum.
Thank you.
Quite a rum collection, and yeah, I'll probably be looking to get that at some stage and add it to my collection.
High praise indeed.
Well, we have. Lovely, thank you. We'll have to get some over there first. We're looking at exporting. We're not actually available yet in the UK. Probably mid-year we'll get some stuff over there, and we'll start our little export journey for the UK. But yeah, we'll definitely get some of this over there. If not this batch, then there will be another batch of the tawny cask coming out soon.
Everyone fancies chipping in, I'll go mule it over for us. Like, just 70 quid each, like put towards my flight, and I'll go and get it just as a public service.
Love it. Public service. Love it back.
I think it says a lot.
One for the team.
It says a lot that, I mean, I try not to drink the whole dram of each one, just because apart from anything else, it's 10 drams. It's quite a lot in the evening. But the Brix ones are both empty. I think
that's lovely.
That says something. So yeah.
That's nice to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I had to top up my glass because I was taking little bits, but yeah, I just went, yeah, this is good stuff.
That may be also because it's the end of the evening, but
could be.
But I'd take it anyway.
It's only the start of mine, and I've got a full bottle here, so who knows what's going to happen.
All right, for some.
And the day is young as well for you.
That's right, and it's Saturday tomorrow, so I've got nothing much on. So here we go.
So, guys, a favourite of the two that we just had from Brix? Hands up for number one. Hands up for number two. Yeah, fair enough.
Very good. Good to hear. That's how I would have expected it to go on a call like this with a bunch of rum lovers. That this is, that tawny cask is very much one of the showpieces for us. So it's been a fantastic product. Unfortunately, there's not endless supply of it. So we have to work on ways to get more of it done. But no, glad to hear the positive feedback. And yeah, if anyone's ever got any questions or wants to learn more or see more about Brix, or both James McPherson and I are pretty heavy in the Australian rum scene. So if anyone's got questions about just Australian rum in general, we'd love to chat more. If you can always shout out a question or an email across that, or Instagram or whatever it might be. So.
And that's perfect segue for you to chuck in your details into the chat for everyone to follow along with your journey with Brix, and how to reach you would be really useful too.
Yeah, sure. So our website is just brixdistillers.com. And same as the other guys, mostly active on Instagram, and that's just at Brix Distillers.
Perfect.
And then if you want to get me directly, I'm at Brix Rum Runner _runner. That's me there. You can get on there and see my journey as well. It's not always about uh, bricks and rum. It's sometimes just some weird, wacky stuff that I chuck up there as well, wherever I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, if you want to get on there and have a chat, for sure.
You guys do distillery tours.
Sorry, mate, can you repeat that?
You guys do distillery tours. I've got a friend in Sydney, so I think I might have to pop in when I visit my friend in Sydney later this year.
Yeah, so we do distillery tours. We're right in the middle of Sydney too. We're in a suburb called Surrey Hills, which is pretty much the Soho of Sydney. It's the cool, trendy restaurant bar area of Sydney, and we're right in the thick of it. We did that on purpose to get eyes on. So, I mean, our marketing budget's not big. It mostly goes to the rent bill, which is, we put the rent under the marketing category in our P&L statement so that we can just get as many people in there as possible. So definitely come in. There's a bar there, cocktail bar, kitchen. You can do tours, you can do cocktail classes, tastings, flights. We do rum spicing classes as well. You can make your own spiced rum, do a little batch. If you're ever in Sydney, then please, everyone on the call, please reach out and come and say hi because yeah, we love to have people through and get people tasting and trying. And
A Skylark guys, come on, sort it out.
Yep, I like that idea.
Indy, can we get a class trip, please?
Class trip, yeah, sure. I'll just do the whip round. If you guys get your permission slips and your money from the parents, we can get the for you.
Yeah. But I guess I'll stop talking now. But I guess as a finishing point for myself and for Bricks and for hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn on behalf of Jimmy Rum, but Australian rum looking forward is looking really, really promising. There is a bunch of great stuff being made. We're 7 years old. James is 7 years old. But in that 7 years, there's also been a bunch of distilleries open up here in Australia. So in the next, I think, 5 to 10 years starting from now with Bricks and Jimmy Rum and a couple of others starting to build their profile and export a little bit around the world, you're going to start to see some really good, strong presence from Australian rum, and we're really going to give the traditional rum categories or regions a bit of a run for their money. I think there's some really good stuff that's going to come out that's going to show that the Australian craft rum scene is actually doing some great stuff. No one's gone into this game to create. I'll put it bluntly, to create shit. We're all in it to create really good product. No one's trying to do it cheap and cheerful. No one's trying to take shortcuts and do sort of cheap stuff. It's an expensive process over here to start a distillery, and there's a huge tax bill you have to pay, and there's a lot of work you've got to put in to get rum in and out of barrel. We have a 2 year minimum requirement for aging, so you're not starting a rum distillery to create a bad product. It has to be good to come out of the barrel and onto shelf. So I think in the next 3, 5, 7 years, there's going to be some fantastic stuff coming out from Australia, and it's a sort of a watch this space for the Australian rum category. If I can be so bold to talk on behalf of the whole category, then keep an eye out for Australian rum because it's going to do good things.
Sorry, James, can I just ask about did you say there was a 2 year minimum? So is that a GI or is that what it needs to be a rum in Australia? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's written into Australian law. It's part of it. It was well, when you lot decided to come over here and start a country, you decided to put some laws in place. But it wasn't until Australia was settled in the late 1700s. But by 1901, federation happened and the states came together to form a country, and at that point the government that was formed was in charge of creating the laws. One of the laws at the time was to put some regulations around alcohol production because it was the wild, wild west. There was some pretty crazy stuff happening. There was people getting sick, and there was some really dodgy stuff being made in bathtubs and basements, much like what was happening over there and in the US. And so the government stepped in and said, "All right, that's enough. Let's put some laws in place." And one of the laws they put in place was a 2 year aging requirement for maturation for rum, whiskey, and brandy. And so that meant, and at the same time, they also put a law in place that said if you want to make spirit, you have to be of a certain size, of a commercial size. I'm not sure what the actual size, but there was a still size requirement. Let's say we've got an 1,800 litre still. It would have been something like 20,000 litres. So what it did was it knocked out a whole bunch of these smaller, dodgy operators that were creating some, pretty shit stuff. And so up until now, that they've removed the law in the I think it was the early 2000s, maybe 20, 30 years ago, they removed the law that said you had to have a still of a certain size. So that has opened up the industry to small craft producers, which is where we've come from and where this whole Australian craft industry has come from in the last 20 years. But they've left the law that says you must age for 2 years. So for us in Australia, to make it a white rum, you must age your rum for 2 years minimum, and then charcoal filter the color out of it. And for a lot of us smaller operators, it's too much time, too much money, too much effort, and it's a process to go through that no one really wants to do. So that's why our white spirits are called cane spirits, or they're not labeled rum. But we can actually send our products overseas to be called white rum. We just can't sell them in our own backyard as white rum. So there's a bit of conjecture around that around the industry, and there's conversations happening all the time, and there's a big movement at the moment to actually look at those classifications, and knowing that they're 125 years old just doesn't make sense for a lot of people, including myself. But some people really like the law. Some people think it adds a sense of quality and standard, and it should be the case. But I guess the conversation around the white rum piece is the one that people want to talk about, because white rum here is Bacardi, and that's about it. And we should be putting our products next to Bacardi on the shelf and being able to call them, because Bacardi does do the aging and filtering process, and send their product out here as 2-year-old rum filtered. But we don't have the budget and the ability really to be doing that on an ongoing basis. So it's definitely an ongoing conversation out here about looking at that law and discussing how can we classify what is an Australian white rum, or what is let's educate people better on what cane spirit is, and tell people that cane spirit is essentially white rum. But yeah, essentially you can't put rum on a label here unless it's been aged for 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. That was really interesting. I was in Madeira last year for their rum festival, and one of the things that they were talking about is, I guess, bursting out, of their GI and really wanting to do things that are very different now, and wanting to push the boundaries of Madeira rum, but not being able to, because then they can't call it Madeira rum. And I guess in a different way, it feels like you're starting to push against those boundaries in a different way, to kind of think about, what can Australia rum be, and can we just be on the same level as some of the big boys, rather than Madeira, who are trying to do something a little bit wacky and different.
Definitely. And the good thing about the Australian industry, we're all really creative, full of ingenuity and experimentation, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So the fact that rum doesn't have a lot of rules is a really good thing, but there are a few that are a little bit restrictive that can be looked at as like, oh, you're holding us back a little bit with what we could be doing. So yeah, it's definitely a talking point, and something that both James and I are very involved in the discussion of, and in the next few years, hopefully we can look at. I mean, changing a law in Australia is a very hard thing to do, but developing some guidelines and classifications around what Australian rum is and how it can be labeled, and really educating people about what's in the bottle. That's really about what we're trying to implement and introduce, so that when we do go out to the world, people know exactly what we're all about and what's in the bottle and how it's been made. And if it is an education piece around the fact that Australia does have a 2-year minimum for a reason, then already that there's a standard that's been set, and that's where we start. And anything from there on is only going to get better. So yeah, it's a watch this space. James, do you want to add? James, do you want to add anything else there? Have you got any other wisdom from Australian rum category?
No, I think you pretty much covered it there, James. But yeah, look, it's a very interesting one for us, and James knows my point of view. I'd love to see a 2-tier system for Australia. where it's basically the way I put it is we can sell a white rum pretty much anywhere in the world presently, except for Canada and Australia and unaged rum, but we can't sell it in our own country. But it's a bit like you could say, well, rightio, you could go cognac. You can't call it cognac. It's brandy, but I can go and take an Australian brandy to cognac and sell it as brandy, or I can take an Australian whiskey to Scotland and sell it as whiskey, but you can't do that in Australia. So it's something that I'm very keen. But I also like our little bit of heritage for the last 100 or so years. We've had a minimum 2-year age statement. It's I'm not in agree with it in its present form because it actually doesn't do anything to improve our rum because there's no minimum barrel size. You can go and get 100,000 litre barrel and full of rum. It's going to go in white. It's going to come out white. And it's actually going to have no benefit to making Australian rum better. So that's why it needs to either get stronger or it needs to be dialed back. So we've got to find a way to work through this, and we've got a few of us now working on it. We've got a meeting next week, haven't we?
We do.
Somewhere there. Yeah.
Guys, I love this talk and I want to continue it as well. So I'm just going
We've hijacked it.
close up the end of this so that we can come off the recording and then we can all have a little chat about this. There's so much more I want to learn about Australian rum, particularly around what your consumers are like out there versus our UK consumers, because that gives us a lot of information. But can I just say a massive thank you? You know what? When we do these events, sometimes we specifically try and keep it outside of the Caribbean. And we've managed to be able to do that again today with showcasing some fantastic Australian distilling, some great American distilling, and Hathi being a fantastic rum based out of the UK. If anyone has any more questions for James, can I ask you just to hang on to them for a couple of seconds? I just want to say a big thank you to you for coming on, giving us your time, your wisdom, and sharing some of your fantastic rum. So a big thank you to yourself, James, and your whole team over at Bricks. I have had connection issues all the way through, so I get to do the close rather than the open today. So again, massive thank you to three big parties. Firstly, the Rumcast team, who have been really kind, made all the packs up, got them all sent out on time. A big thank you to all the brands who have been kind enough to give us their time, even though it's silly o'clock out in Australia and the US. Really appreciate your time. And again, a massive thank you to you guys. Thanks for being a part of our Rumcast online stuff. I hope you guys learn loads of stuff about rum, cool little quirky things. You then take that message as the true soldiers of rum onto your friends and family and showcase all the cool stuff that you've tasted. So I'm going to shut by saying a thank you to everyone, all three parties. And Indy, over to you.
Thank you, guys.